Okay, brilliant. Okay, let's bring some people on stage.
Okay, first request we have is BTC Kyle.
Hey guys, how you doing? Can
Yeah,
you hear
good.
me okay?
Hey, Carl, I saw you made your return to YouTube.
Oh yeah. I'm probably gonna upload some more content, especially after your video there. It was really well done. I had a couple questions for you actually. One is how are we gonna make sure that Judge Glenn watches your video? I'll let you
Um,
answer that first.
so I haven't spoken to him about it yet, but I'm gonna volunteer either Manny, if he agrees with this, to do one of his what he usually does, or maybe someone else can take the reign. But yeah, I at the moment I'm just really focused on the bidding process to not get involved in some of the court side of that. So, but yeah, any ideas, any initiatives? I don't think he's got a
Yeah,
Twitter handle.
yeah,
That would be cool.
yeah. Maybe we can upload something to Stretto, or maybe other people can comment on Stretto,
Yeah, please do.
something
So
like that.
it will be on YouTube. Maybe we can do a really simple document. Watch this, or someone can
Right.
summarize it because
Yeah.
I doubt people. I think these legally minded obviously want it all written in the correct way. But let's not procrastinate. Let's just make
Right.
sure the information gets out there.
Right. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that we had a way for him to watch it because I really do think it's important. I mean, it's really, really important that he watches that. Yeah, because there were a couple of misconceptions during that hearing. So I have one last question. I really liked the idea of connecting your Celsius account to Bank to the Future for the rebalancing part. That made me extremely happy because it's clear that you've been listening to people because there had been people that had mentioned that they wanted to invest more money than what they, actually, let me take a step back. There's people that wanted to invest more money into the fund that maybe wouldn't have had that ability to in the past. So having that connection to Bank to the Future is awesome. My question is, do you have to be accredited? Like as a U.S. Resident myself, do I still have to be accredited in order to rebalance, or do I get kind of grandfathered into that? Thank you.
Yeah, so there's it's a complex subject, but I did try to create a matrix in video 4. So there's several different things. So there's US and there's non-US. Non-US, we currently have 4 different license applications, and I'm very confident that one of those is going to come through by the maybe even this month. But I hate second guessing regulators because I've said that, and sometimes it can take months. But I'm confident that our non-US, non-high net worth license is going to come through. And so there's a couple of processes here. So for someone that wants to invest in our funding round, if you're from the US, you're going to have to be accredited. There's no way around that. We're not going to get an offering like this signed off under a Jobs Act or anything. That would take months, or a Reg A plus. It would take months and probably never get signed off just due to the contentious nature of this process. So that's investing in initially our funding round, whether that's debt or equity. The non-US, they can sign up under our high net worth broker, and we think that there's going to be our non-high net worth broker that comes through. Here's the important thing: we built the tech whereby you just sign up, and it tells you what you can do, and there are services for all different types of people. But it won't let you, if you don't qualify, it won't let you do something. But then
That makes sense.
there's another part to it, which is receiving the funds. Let's say the funds and fund. Let's call it equity, just for simplicity. There is exemptions in the bankruptcy code that I believe that is totally possible. It's a big hurdle, but possible. So we fully intend to see if we can use those exemptions, and if we can't use them, then it just won't simply be approved as a plan. So that would have to be part of the process of being approved. So that would allow any non-sanctioned individual, let's say, to receive that equity. There's also various other exemptions, which is with private equity after a 1-year lock-in, non-accredited and accredited investors can purchase via an integration and a broker that we've got integrated into the platform. So after the 1 year lock-in, that gives the rebalancing option as well. So everyone's going to be locked in for kind of a year, but then we can do an initial offering. So I know that it's just a lot of complications, but if you just create accounts, it won't let you do the things that you can't do. And there are lots of things that allow us to do the things we do want to do.
Thanks, Simon. I appreciate it.
Thank you so
No
much.
worries.
We have loans and then Plan C.
Cool. We also got Sean from Salt here as well. So if there's a question directed at him, feel free. Sean can take it as well.
Hey, thanks. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear you good, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm at the airport. Sorry, I got these brain cancer causing AirPods in right now. But no, I thought it was a great video, Simon. I would love to see this thing move as much away from litigation as we can move towards mediation. Exactly like you talked about all the groups. It was Johan. He's a borrower. He was the one that suggested we take a holistic approach, because we are not gonna solve any of this in court with random motions and random discussions. And again, I don't know the ins and outs of the bankruptcy. An hour prior to the video, I did email the YouTube link to the chambers of Judge Glenn and said, hey, this is going live. I'll also add, David Adler knows Judge Glenn pretty well. I'll also ask Adler to send the link to Judge Glenn. But I don't know how, I see UCC people listening in, but I think is whatever we can do to get this thing out of a litigation and into mediation and get reps from each ad hoc, each constituency to sit down, do proper horse trading. I think you've got it set up with your platform. Get every Celsius creditor moved over to the Bank of the Future platform and do good old-fashioned horse trading to get everyone to a good enough solution. I mean, it's already been 5 months. I think it's abundantly clear at this point there's not going to be a Celsius standalone reorg. There's no communication from them. There's no trust, no nothing. So whatever we have to do as creditors to get out of this mess and get forward to mediation and get, like you talked about, a more abundant future, like I think just people are burnt out at this point. I appreciate all your efforts thus far. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ronan. Plan C, and then Michael Rogowski.
Hey guys, thanks so much for everything. Thanks for the video today. It was great. Seeing just kind of the technical solutions for optionality is exciting to see. Just the potential of what can be done with that. I know it's not an easy thing, but it was exciting to see kind of that starting to be built out, because I do think the optionality component of this is so huge, and just everyone being able to make their own decisions on their own risk levels. And kind of moving forward, there's so much potential with a platform like that. So it was really cool to see. As far as your 8 different, I think it was 8 different groups that kind of are represented or need to be represented. Anyone that feels like they can represent one of those groups. So I'm basically looking for the best representatives for kind of each of those buckets. And I've already started to put together a Telegram group, which is going to do weekly calls where there's kind of 2 representatives of each of those ad hocs, which have, lots of them over 1,000 people. So trying to put together, a group of maybe 20 people or so, where it ends up being about 20 people, where each group is represented by 2 people, and then we can have weekly calls where we, work together as much as possible towards a solution. So that's if anyone is part of one of those buckets that really feels they're well positioned to represent that, please reach out to me. And then the very last thing I'll say is just regarding a handful of people that are upset that they are saying they're unable to listen to the last spaces. These spaces, after the hearings, I'm going to continue to do these spaces. There's a lot of demand. I get hundreds of messages of people saying they appreciate them. Having Simon and David and these kinds of people on and all the representatives of the ad hocs is valuable. There was I think 20,000 people that listened to the last one. So just so people understand, if you are unable to listen to it because you've been blocked, there's only a handful of people that have. you can actually log out of your account and you can still listen. So just so people might not be aware of that. All you have to do is log out of your account, and then any Twitter space you can listen to live. If you want to speak in a Twitter space, just make a new account and you can come on stage and speak. Simon, I think, is going to also upload these spaces to YouTube after, so people can listen there after as well. And then alternatively, if you don't want to be blocked, just somehow get a hold of me, get someone to reach out to you. I'll DM you. We can have a talk. We can put water under the bridge. I've already started blocking a number of individuals that have reached out to me. So there's a few very, very few people that unfortunately I'm never going to block just because they massively block the line of disrespect. But most people, I think we can just move past this and ultimately, I want as many people listening to these spaces as possible that are reasonable individuals. So we're talking about literally a couple people here. But anyways, I just wanted to say that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot as well. And also, I think, I don't know if the clawbacks conversation, I know there's a lot of groups of people that withdrew and want to ensure that, they're not going to be clawed back. I think that's another representation I may have missed, but I'm not sure if it really relates because they're not a creditor at this stage. Cool.
Thanks, Plan C. Michael Rogowski.
Great, thank you. Very powerful comments to Judge Glenn, Simon. I had a couple of things I wanted to mention. Firstly, I use the Celsius platform exclusively to generate yield, and I had stablecoins on the platform. And the end of your comments to Judge Glenn, you indicated that perhaps Celsius could be transitioning to Bank to the Future, and Bank to the Future could offer a yield product that would be fully compliant. And this is an extremely exciting opportunity. We saw what happened with BlockFi and the others. And to really do this properly as a second generation, I think is just a very, very exciting future. One other comment to make, and that is that I've been listening now to your YouTube for some time, and each time you communicate to us that if we don't get this thing sorted out immediately, that the sky is going to fall in, and that was the message that you gave to Judge Glenn in the video that we just heard. I think that's great. We all recognize that that cash is burning very rapidly at lawyers' fees at $1,800 an hour. So we get it that it needs to be done quickly. But I think it's important when you talk about the sky falling in, is you give us specific examples and explain maybe more quantitatively why we need to act fast rather than just make proclamations to that effect. Because in the beginning you had said that, and the sky didn't fall in. We're in a place now that where we can see some light at the end of the tunnel, and it's been 5 months. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate the feedback. And yeah, one of the big challenges I have is there's so much information in my head that I forget what people do know and don't know, because this has just been the biggest information dump over the last 4 months of document after document after document, and space after space after space. It's been really challenging. But I think it really came from the last hearing, when Judge Glenn was asking the examiner to make a determination, on whether it's a Ponzi scheme or not. And then David Adler in the last space, if you listen to Plan C space, kind of gave us a reality check on what that actually means. And so we know that if regulators and the examiner wanted to find a load of really bad stuff, so initially it was useful because we had to get rid of, from my perspective, we had to get rid of the co-founders to progress. But now it's really not serving much of a purpose, other than if it really leads into determining who owns what. And so to me, anything beyond who owns what is something that I think should happen later for the benefit of our assets. So if, for example, we had a trust or a fund where we received any any claims as a result of misrepresentations and sell token manipulation or any of those things, then that's very useful later, but it's not useful now, because right now we just need to get the order right, which is determine who owns what, get through the bidding process, and then get out the other side where everyone has a home, and then just ensure that we have a security where we get entitlement to all of the things that will come as a result of the examiner report. So it's really it's that and the last court hearing was extreme in terms of how people were talking.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, I think everybody appreciates that speed is of the essence. People need to get their assets back as soon as possible. But I think it's important to be accurate and make sure that you don't overstate the point, because we've gone now for 5 months, and there still seems to be some degree of hope for a substantial return of assets. And look at Mt. Gox. How many years has it been? And people are still getting back some of their crypto.
Yeah, I mean, Mt. Gox is 10% recovery, so they get 10% of their Bitcoin back, which is a disaster from my side.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no argument there.
Yeah.
I think speed is better. But anyway, that's my point. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks
Right.
for providing the balance. The last thing I want to do is misrepresent, because that's what got us in this mess in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for your thoughts, Michael. Really appreciate it. Next, we have Alexander.
Hello together. So Simon, thank you for again doing that. I'm just looking at that, and I think it's a powerful message for Mr. Glenn, these 8 points, I think, which you put together, and I'm totally agree with you that we have to find for all of these 8 points a solution which works for everybody, right? Because when you were using the app or its functionalities, you actually end up in one of these 8 cases, what we identified so much. And also with you having that, then kind of, was it misrepresentation, commingled, or stuck? Yeah, that's, I think, all true. So I definitely appreciate your effort up there. So here are my questions now. You talked about this beta testing. I mean, I'm just looked under my Bank to the Future accounts. I went under funds. So yes, it's not there, right? So the question would be, will you be invited as a beta tester, or what would be the process up there? I also think that you cannot go live before the exclusivity period ends, or you win the bid. I don't know this. But that would be my first question. So how to actually engage in this beta testing. And the second, I would like you to, once again, we have this 8 classes where you say, okay, speedy property settlement. It's the headline. And then what you said with your portal, the creditor rebalancing. Can you kind of wrap it up a little bit, what you also said with the mindset from digital scarcity to abundance, how this would actually help us, this creditor rebalancing, to come to this mindset? So that's at least how I understand it, right? And would it already be, when I use this functionality, consolidated Bitcoin, ETH, and then the percentage of equity, or will I see then all the coins I had in Celsius? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and remember all of that. So thank you for bringing that up. So first thing, beta is we're just going to start with our first product, which is a bid financing product for BF Global. And that can be available before, that doesn't require exclusivity for us to raise finance. And the second, level of products is that once the mindset here is that everybody's fighting over not enough coins, but some people really, really want their coins, and other people really, really want an opportunity to receive some equity. And so as long as we can have a secondary market, then people can sell their equity, or people can buy more equity, and then they can trade that for the coin that they want, as long as these services all exist in a compliant fashion. And then they might want to use that as collateral in order to take out a loan, and we can really build the solutions that eventually gives everyone what they want. I really don't want to overpromise, because our devs are working around the clock at the moment to build the bid financing solution. But it was just more of letting people know that you may not get what you want in court. But if you don't get what you want in court, we're going to try and build solutions that allow you to get back to where you wanted to go if things go well. Obviously, there's market forces, there's risks, there's investing. And, you know, at the end of the day, you could end up risking and investing in a fund that doesn't perform. But at least you'll know what you've invested in. There'll be disclosures, and you'll end up in the place that you wanted to be in. And that's kind of where we're trying to get to. It will take a while to get there because there's a lot to achieve. But yeah, that's the first product. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Alexander. Next, we have Adam. AE Adam. Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Hello. Hi.
Yes.
So first, thank you again, Simon. First, I just want to say I completely support what you're doing, and I had mostly stable coins on. I am an accredited investor, not ultra wealthy, but I am an accredited investor, and I do plan on investing in this. In just so, I mean, for me, pretty much most of these solutions are acceptable, except for a clawback. And you know, with that in mind, regarding your initial investing round, did you say that in addition to equity, we will be able to use some of our coins as part of the bidding process, or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, well, if you think about it, it's not quite that, but if you think about it in essence, if we complete our funding round, and the more finance that we raise, the more likely we are to enter that process and be successful in that process. Then we could, you know, if anyone wants to, and that's what the product is, the Chapter 11 product, is that we've got a bunch of people that, for example, withdrew, that want to actually invest in this thing, even though they withdrew. And we've got all of our investors. We've got 150,000 investors at Bank to the Future or accounts. And then we've got people that have funds locked up on Celsius. And yeah, we think we found a way of utilizing all of those assets in compliance with securities laws and bankruptcy code. So we're really excited about releasing that. We've still got to get everything signed off by both Bankruptcy Council and Securities Council. And then we're currently coding it. And you know, we've got several weeks to get through that. And we're hoping to get that in time for it aligned with this bidding process.
Great. So I guess my question is, so when the funding round comes, I understand if we're accredited investors, we can buy equity or use US dollars or dollars for equity. But my question is, let's say you have Bitcoin and you have Ethereum. Maybe I misunderstood that, but can you use some of that?
Yeah, so you could also elect to, I don't want to give a securities offering in this environment because we have to only do it to qualifying investors. But in a nutshell, we'll give full disclosures and only suitable investors and all the things we have to do. But we're constructing a debt product whereby if you wanted to, rather than do equity, lend, then we could do something that looks like a security law compliant version of what the earn program by lending to be equitable. So we can do a debt and equity offering.
I think that's actually a fantastic idea, because I'm sure there are many of us that have more crypto that we could use to support this than we have dollars. So that opens up a larger bank of resources for us. So great idea.
I think so as well. And this is why this is the true power of combining SALT with Bank to the Future, that when you can combine securities with debt products, you essentially have what makes an investment bank. And when you have markets, you know, we feel that we have a really supercharged version of what SALT had and what Bank to the Future have, and the synergy is just fantastic. And you know, Sean and I and the rest of the team have just been geeking out on all these different products and possibilities when you can do the compliant custody, compliant securities and compliant lending.
Thank you for your questions, Adam, and your comments. Next, we have Harry, and after Harry, we're going to go with Jeff.
Hey Simon, hi Sean and everybody else. Thank you, Mary. I'm specifically going to ask questions regarding clawbacks. Simon, this is a three-part question. Part one of this question is, what do you feel is fair in reference to clawbacks and clawing back up to 90 days or even up to a year, depending on who it is that took their money out of Celsius about this? What do you feel about clawbacks?
I feel that if this is determined to be a Ponzi scheme and it takes us into Chapter 7, then it doesn't matter what I think, it's going to happen. Clawbacks will happen. If the company wants to demonstrate that they care about customers and they're confident in their service, then they should, in their bidding agreement, opt out of doing clawbacks. And I cannot imagine a bidder that would want to bid on that and still have a future relationship with both the sector industry. And so that's how I think about it. So I think putting the clawback opportunity exists for Celsius at the moment. And so depending on their future, the lawyers or the company may decide to use that option. But when you go through the bidding process, as we saw with FTX, you're able to opt out of giving those clawbacks. But regulators may say, well, or if we structure it as a fund, they may say, but let's keep insider clawbacks. That will be determined in court later. We don't want to wait. That would be an asset of the estate. And there may be some institutional settlements around some of the stuff that we're learning about the relationship between FTX and Tether and Celsius and Voyager. There may be things there. And one of the very interesting things was that Judge Glenn heard from regulators that were investigating the conflict between Kirkland and Ellis, Voyager, and Celsius, which I thought was really interesting. So everyone's being held to account there. And so, yeah, I think so. Anyway, but my answer is the bidding company should opt out of retail clawbacks. And certainly, if I were to be involved in anything, I would certainly do that.
Okay, but do you understand by doing such premise and such actions, the people that had advanced warnings now makes it unfair for the rest of the creditors to bear the burden of such actions? Because if you truly want to do a level, equal representation of what the haircut will be, everyone needs to bear the burden and not us creditors with preferred payments that seems to have happened during the freezing period. Do you agree with that?
So,
or do you,
I agree with that in concept, but if you combine it with, if you're just fighting for coins, then I agree with that is a concept. I don't think it's the right concept, but if you agree with building equity value, then I think you'll destroy your equity value by pursuing such action, and it would be extremely detrimental to the estate. And so this is with me thinking what's the best thing for the equity and what's for the best thing for the coins. And I think it's opt out of retail clawbacks.
And my final part of this, and it does reference exactly that, whether Celsius or the reorg company or the Newco company, I'm afraid, well, in my humble opinion, I think the creditors are owed an equal opportunity to get their funds back. And that means if the relationship with Celsius or the current reorg happens to upend or put into question the companies that they made preferential payments to, whether it be Tether, FTX, and all this during the freezing out period, that should not be put onto the rest of us who did not have an option when that freeze-out period occurred.
You're
And
talking about,
I would
yeah,
like to,
institutional clawback should be an asset of the fund, is what I would do. I'd
right, but also
negotiate that as an asset.
right, but I believe some retailers could have also fallen privy to some information. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's been, you've seen the 973 report that got released as to certain
So yeah,
movements.
you can, without going into the detail,
Yeah,
you could put into the contracts that anything to do with insiders clawbacks, which is privy to information, that even if it's determined later, that would be a property of the fund.
right. So then how does that play into us, all of us? Like say we take your proposal or go with the the you and Salt hybrid proposal that you propose. How does that come into play now for
Yeah.
future determination when those
So
I guess
the
cases?
point, yeah, the point at which you'd know that is when you. I'll take that as the last question, just for other people.
Yes, please. Yes,
But,
that is.
if you did a bid plus reorg, then you would get to vote on the plan. And so if you saw anything in those terms and conditions that you didn't like, you'd have the right to not vote for that plan.
Thank you, Harry. Really appreciate your questions. Jeff and then Daylong.
All right, thanks, Simon. Thanks a million for holding this. My question is about clawbacks as well, a little bit of a different angle. And it's just in relation, Simon, to the comment you made near the beginning of this space is whether we should consider the clawback group as another one of these ad hoc groups to be included. And you said, well, they're not really creditors. And I think, and certainly anecdotally what I'm seeing, is that most of the clawback group, people who withdrew during that 2-month period, because of course during the last month we couldn't withdraw before the bankruptcy because things were already frozen. So people who withdrew during that 2-month period, I think the vast majority of them still have assets on Celsius. So they are also creditors. So Plan C is a good example of that. I think he's stated that he took half his assets off during that time and still has half on. I'm an example of that. I've got assets on there as well. And I think the other thing to realize is that it was a really volatile time for crypto. Because and one of the things that I got caught up in was the Terra Luna collapse, where Celsius finally started to support the UST, the Luna stablecoin, at a higher yield rate, right? And so I moved some of my USDC over to UST to earn that higher yield. I didn't move it all, thankfully. And then, of course, UST started to depeg. And so I had no choice but to withdraw my UST from Celsius. I didn't have swaps yet at that time. I think most didn't because it was a week or two after that Celsius came out with the general availability of swaps. So I had to, in order to sell my UST, I had to withdraw it from the platform, sell it into USDC, and then I redeposited the USDC back, although I lost a bit because it was already depegging. And at the same time, the market dropped in half during that 2-month period. I think Bitcoin went from 40,000 to 20,000, where we're actually still sitting today during that 2-month time frame. So I think a lot of people just got nervous and wanted to take assets off and convert to stable coins or cash or whatever they were doing. And so I think a lot of people were doing transactions on and off the platform because of the instability of the market. And I believe most of the clawback group, anybody who withdrew during that period of time, also has assets on the platform. Certainly there's some that withdrew everything, no question.
Yeah,
I think
no,
most do.
philosophically, I believe in voluntarism, and I believe that in retrospect, we can all decide where we would have liked to have sat, but we all took our actions.
Exactly.
And I believe in that. I also have a story. I was attending to my father in his final days, weeks before the pause. And I also knew that I couldn't withdraw ahead of my clients without disclosing that to my clients, given the relationship that we had with our clients. So for me, I chose not to withdraw. And that's where we are. But other people did withdraw. And I think, yeah, just from my perspective, philosophically, I think we all had a choice. We made our choices, and there's consequences to the choices for insiders, and there's consequences for people that decided that they thought it was FUD, and there's consequences for the people that thought, I need to get out or I need to move to custody. So we all made our choices, and with more information, we would have made different choices.
Exactly, absolutely. And in fact, when I withdrew some of my assets, it wasn't because I thought Celsius was going to go bankrupt. I actually was still trusting the messages that were coming out that there were lots of liquidity, but I was nervous about the market overall. I was worried after what happened to UST. Should I leave my USDC there? So there's a lot of factors, that played with each of us. And everybody had the choice of what they wanted to do, and if they needed money, or if they wanted to take more risk or less risk, or whatever it was, given what was happening with the market. I
believe markets are markets, and I believe that if people think they get a one-way bet, it's like it's just like saying, yeah, I'll go long and sell token until it crashes, and then when it crashes, I want a one-way bet, because I felt like I was. I don't want to get into that, because everyone has valid arguments, and misrepresentation is valid as well. The best way, I think, out of this is just allow the decisions to be the decisions, get it through the bidding process, and the bidder should opt out of retail clawbacks to protect the equity value. And then everyone that is receiving equity should probably agree that it would destroy their equity value to pursue such a short-term strategy.
Thank you for that, Jeff. Simon, I just want to let you know you're probably coming up in about 15 more minutes, and we have some people in the queue. Thank you everybody for being patient. I'll get to you, so if you can kind of shorten your questions so we can get to everyone, that would be great. And having said that, I'm going to go Daylong and then Ronan.
Hi, thank you, Mary. Mr. King, I assume you have the best intentions of the questions and the comments you just had. Let me put this into perspective for you. There are probably hundreds of millions of dollars of people who were living on Bitcoin interest like I was, at about 3.5% for years. And serendipitously, that was cut to 1 in a very short amount of time. And they lived well. I'm not saying I was in the poorhouse, but then they took their money out to other places that were paying better rates of interest in a more mature way, and for example, in a way where you can get a CD like service. Abras being one of them, are doing a great job. So, but if you were to claw back the money I took out, buy a 6-bedroom house, buy a $100,000 truck, buy tuition with a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, literally on the street. So do me a favor and never bring that up again, because there's a lot of people that would be literally on the street if you did a retail clawback, because they had all or most of their money with Celsius, because they were told by Alex and a lot of people there that their money was totally safe. It was totally used in a way and put up as collateral, over collateralized. It was never going to not be there. And you literally put people out of the street. I'm assuming your intentions are well, but by saying things like that, there are certain people that are just trying to do the right things by their family that have literal heart attacks when you talk like that. Retail clawbacks, not only that, on a macro level, retail clawbacks would destroy the United States crypto market in total, because no one would ever, ever, ever leave their money or for any amount of time at a crypto, at a Bitcoin crypto exchange in this country if they thought that, oh, wait, you know what, I might take my money out eventually, and the company could declare Chapter 11, oh, if I didn't do it outside of 90 days, it would all go away. So do me a favor, Mr. King, in the glasses, don't ever say that again. You have a right to, but you're really barking up the wrong tree with a lot of people there that not only don't want to hear it, but you're going to hurt a lot of people. So please don't ever say that again. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for expressing that.
Thanks, Daylon. Loans, and then Plan C, and then.
Thanks. I'll be extremely quick. I appreciate it. Just for people in the UCC that are listening, if FTX puts a bid in, I just posted in the Nest about what he did with Celsius paying back their loans. He's got his full loan back. FTX and Sam Bankman-Friedman really truly are on the verge of insolvency. They're trying to make a bid at Celsius to protect themselves. I don't think the examiner is going to be able to examine all of FTX, but if for the members of the UCC that are considering an FTX bid, I think as creditors, no matter what happens, we are going to be in better hands with Simon and Sean than we would be SPF. Dirty Bubble Media, some people love him, some people hate him, but he's called the shots pretty accurately. He's coming out with an article here in the next couple of days that is going to be laying out SPF's insolvency. They did the same thing as Mashinsky and Celsius. They had an FTT token. They're using that token to prop up their balance sheet. So I really hope that we do not go with an FTX bid, because that is going to sweep under a lot of the mess that SPF is engaged in. And we get out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy, we do our horse trading on Simon's platform, and we can form a litigation trust to go after insider clawbacks, to go after Mashinsky, to go back after Tether, and we feed that all into the fund. But thank you.
Thank you. One thing on the clawbacks as well is that the advantage of the reason we're in the Celsius thing is because it was meant to be a securities business, but it wasn't. And so when you are a securities business, these processes have all been defined. The process for bank bankruptcies, securities business bankruptcies, they've all been defined. So they're designed to prevent the domino effect, and you have safe harbors and various other things. Hopefully this is just a one-time scenario where we're transitioning to models that have already been figured out.
Okay, we have Plan C and then the Hanover.
Hey guys, I'll keep it brief because this seems to be the topic of the day about clawbacks, and some people already said some of my points, but just to kind of put this to rest, I think it was like this whole scenario of this even being a topic of discussion is it just more like a combination of all these events that occurred, right? Just the absolute craziness of the overall financial markets. Like I had absolute full belief in Celsius. I had absolutely no inkling that there was any chance of them going under. I had full confidence in them, but I had my entire life savings in Celsius because I believed that much about what Alex had said. I drank the Kool-Aid that much. I'm speaking for a lot of people, I think, because a lot of people felt the same way. We got overexposed to Celsius because of how much Alex pitched things and how much we believed in the idea long-term of this idea of living off of yield and this idea of financial freedom, right? So people got so overexposed. I had my entire life savings in Celsius. And even though I remained with full belief, I was actually defending Celsius online because I still believe fully in everything. I thought everything was fine. I mean, they raised what I thought was a lot of money, the pension fund, everything I thought was great. But when the overall financial markets are in chaos and you have your entire life savings in something, it's just prudent to take out some of that money temporarily, right? And so there's a lot of people that did that. And that's why I think a lot of people in the clawback group have, half their money in, half their money out, or percentage of the money in, a percentage of the money out, right? It's just risk management. So if we go after, retail clawbacks, I just think, like we've already mentioned, you guys have already talked about, it's going to be so bad for the future of what Simon's trying to build and the vision of CFI and all these services. And I mean, it's just, there's people, that did take out some funds that, like myself, that I would like to contribute and invest in the future of this space. But if there's retail clawbacks, I will never use a CFI company again. But I mean, if we can move past this and focus on just insiders, anyone that had inside information, I fully support clawbacks for insiders. If anyone can prove that anyone had inside information within the company or anyone in the community, full clawback, full support of that. I think it's dangerous to accuse people. I've been accused of having inside information. I mean, that is very dangerous to accuse a retail person of having inside information unless you have proof, right? And so I've had to put up with this, and this is why a lot of people I blocked is because they've said things that I know are factually untrue about me and are just really detrimental to me. So don't throw around the word insider lightly. The people that had inside information, full clawback. Let's focus on them, and let's not go after people that are just retail people wanting to use these services. Okay, that's it. Sorry about the speech.
Thank you. Mary, should we do one more question and wrap up?
Sure. Well, we have Sean has.
You mind if I say something?
But,
yeah, go for it, Sean.
Yeah, this will be fast. It'll be fast. So on the point of clawbacks, I completely agree with everything Simon has said as far as right now. You know, just to throw it out there, you could propose in the future a voluntary option for people that have the means that withdrew their funds to bring them back in a way that is splitting the economics with everybody that is in, so that it's a net positive and market driven. And that would be a much better outcome for people to opt in voluntarily and have the benefit go to the equity holders and the rest of the platform, with them receiving something, whether it be preference on an earn product staking or loan for liquidity with less interest. You can imagine quite a few ways you could offer those people who are in that bucket a way to come back on that isn't going to have the same type of repercussions and problems, litigation, and the rest. So it's kind of separating out what can be done now and how to get this done the right way, and then how to create market-driven solutions moving forward.
Thank you, Sean. I want to apologize to those that have been waiting in the queue. We've had a lot of people that were waiting. So in the interest of time, the last question is going to be the janitor.
Hey, thanks for hearing me out here. Just a really quick question on the bidding process. You know, I kind of been hearing how the bankruptcy law kind of states everyone equal and fairly, and I just wanted to see how I understand two things. First is, how does a cash bid it seem more, it would be better than a cash bid reorg? Like, how could the investment bank determine the cash bid looks better, since a cash bid reorg that makes everyone whole would benefit the creditors the most, and it seems like a cash bid would benefit shareholders. So I just want to see how Celsius, the company, and the investment bank could say, you know, maybe make a determination that the cash bid is better than the cash bid reorg.
Sure, yeah, it's a risk. It's risk question. So let's say you offer 100 million of cash and $1 billion of equity, and somebody else offers $500 million of cash. They could say that they would take the overall risk and say, we think that risk adjusted, those bids, one is better than the other. So, you know, they favor cash. And so a big part of this is we need to make sure that we raise enough cash, because it's very favored. So that is just a risk model. And investment banks, I know people think of them as risk takers, but actually investment banks are pretty conservative. So they know how to value these things, and they will have a model, and they'll try and present it to Celsius in the way that is risk adjusted. So you get a discount for risk, and cash will be considered less risk. So that's it, really.
And does Celsius, do they have the option to deny a bid that is more favorable than the other? I mean, yes. You know, even though it, okay.
Well, not more favorable, but there's a subjective.
Or less favorable to creditors.
Yeah. But they bring a third-party investment bank in whose job is to make those assessments and present them to the powers that be.
Hey, Simon, that's the last one for you, and you can just close it out if you'd like.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. So I'm going to go celebrate my birthday now. I hope the content was useful. If anyone would like to take the challenge of trying to see how that video can get to Judge Glenn. Also, hey, how do you do that? That's cool.
That was your happy birthday.
Awesome.
For you, happy birthday.
Are you going to sing, Mary?
Oh, goodness. Okay. I haven't sung in a long time. I used to sing in church, but happy birthday to you. There you go.
Thank you very much. That was beautiful. Okay. Thank you, everybody. As I always close out on the same stage, please take the gauntlet. I'm going to take the day off tomorrow. So always remember, you're alive at one of the most interesting and exciting times in financial history. Somebody's going to get hurt. We're going to make sure that there's no retail clawbacks and that doesn't harm people. And we're going to try and create market-driven solutions, raise the finance, win the damn bid, get on the other side of this, and turn this into something, if we can, with your support.
Thank you, everybody.